Right now, as you're watching this, if you're stressed or haven't slept well, something invisible is happening inside your body. Your immune system's elite soldiers, cells designed to hunt down cancer and viruses, are disappearing, not slowly over years. Right now, scientists just discovered that anxiety and insomnia don't just make you feel bad. They're literally depleting the bodyguards that keep you alive. "75% of young adults now report anxiety symptoms. Over half struggle with insomnia." If you're thinking, "Yeah, that's me," you're not alone. Mental health struggles have become a defining feature of modern life, especially for younger generations. We talk about how anxiety and sleeplessness make us feel exhausted, on edge, unable to focus. But what we don't talk about is what's happening beneath the surface, at the cellular level. Researchers at Taiba University in Saudi Arabia just published something alarming in Frontiers in Immunology. They measured the immune cells in young women with anxiety and insomnia, and what they found should concern all of us. These students had significantly fewer natural killer cells, the immune system's first line of defense against infections and cancer. And here's the kicker: the worse the anxiety and sleep problems, the fewer immune cells they had. We're talking about a dose-dependent relationship. More stress equals weaker immunity. Not just a little weaker, measurably, dangerously weaker. Natural killer cells, NK cells for short, are like the Navy SEALs of your immune system. They patrol your body 24/7, hunting for infected cells, cancerous cells, and invading pathogens. When you don't have enough of them, your body becomes vulnerable, and anxiety and insomnia are quietly depleting your army. Today, we're diving deep into exactly what's happening, why it matters, and what you can do about it. Because understanding this connection might be the key to protecting your health in ways you never imagined. Before we talk about what anxiety and insomnia are doing to your immune system, you need to understand exactly what natural killer cells are, and why they're so crucial. Natural killer cells are part of your innate immune system, the defense system you're born with, as opposed to the adaptive immune system that learns over time. Think of them as your body's rapid response force. They don't need training or previous exposure to a threat. They're ready to kill from day one. Here's how they work. NK cells circulate through your bloodstream and patrol your tissues, constantly checking other cells for signs of trouble. They're looking for two main things: cells infected with viruses and cells that have become cancerous, and they identify these threats through a clever molecular trick. Every healthy cell in your body displays certain proteins on its surface, kind of like an ID badge that says, "I'm normal, don't kill me." NK cells check for these badges. If a cell is infected with a virus or has turned cancerous, it often loses these protective proteins or starts displaying stress signals. When an NK cell finds a cell without proper ID, it attacks. The attack is swift and brutal. The NK cell releases toxic proteins called perforins and granzymes. Perforins punch holes in the target cell's membrane, like a microscopic shotgun blast. Granzymes then flood through these holes and trigger the cell to self-destruct, a process called apoptosis. The infected or cancerous cell essentially commits suicide, and the threat is neutralized before it can spread. Now, NK cells come in two main flavors, each with a different job. The first type, called CD16 plus CD56 DIM cells, make up about 90% of NK cells in your bloodstream. These are your cytotoxic killers, the assassins. They're highly efficient at destroying target cells and make up the majority of your circulating NK cell army. The second type, CD16 plus CD56 bright cells, are less common but equally important. These cells don't kill as much. Instead, they act like commanders and coordinators. They produce chemical messengers called cytokines that help regulate the entire immune response, recruiting other immune cells to the battlefield and fine-tuning the attack. Why does this matter? Because when researchers measured NK cells in people with anxiety and insomnia, they found reductions in both types. The study from Taiba University showed that young women with anxiety had fewer total NK cells, fewer cytotoxic killers, and fewer immune coordinators. Their entire NK cell system was suppressed. Let's put this in perspective. In healthy individuals, NK cells make up about 5 to 15% of all lymphocytes in your blood. That might not sound like much, but these cells are incredibly powerful. Studies have shown that people born with defective NK cells, suffer from severe, recurrent infections, particularly viral infections like herpes and cytomegalovirus. They're also at higher risk for certain cancers. One famous medical case involved a teenager who completely lacked functional NK cells. She suffered from life-threatening viral infections throughout her childhood. This case proved what scientists had suspected. NK cells aren't optional, they're essential for survival, and now we're learning that even partial reductions in NK cell numbers, like what happens with chronic anxiety and insomnia, can compromise your immune function. So when this new study shows that 75% of young women have anxiety symptoms, and those with moderate to severe anxiety have significantly fewer NK cells, we're not talking about a minor issue. We're talking about a generation-wide immune suppression that could have serious health consequences down the line. Let's break down exactly what the researchers discovered and why their findings are so significant. The team at Taiba University recruited 60 female students between the ages of 17 and 23. They had each student complete 3 questionnaires, one about their demographics and lifestyle, one measuring anxiety symptoms using a standardized test called the GAD-7, and one assessing insomnia symptoms. Then they collected blood samples and used a technique called flow cytometry to count and characterize the students' immune cells. Flow cytometry is like a high-speed cell scanner that can identify different cell types based on the proteins they display on their surface. It's incredibly precise. The results were striking. 75% of the students reported anxiety symptoms at some level. Over half, 53%, reported sleep disturbances consistent with insomnia. And among those with anxiety symptoms, 17% had moderate anxiety, while 13% had severe anxiety. This isn't just mild worry. We're talking about clinically significant mental health struggles in a majority of these young women. Now here's where it gets really interesting. When the researchers compared the blood samples of students with anxiety to those without anxiety, they found clear differences. Students with general anxiety symptoms had lower percentages and lower absolute numbers of total NK cells. Both the cytotoxic CD56 dim cells and the regulatory CD56 bright cells were reduced, but severity mattered. Students with minimal or mild anxiety showed only a small, statistically insignificant decrease in NK cells. But students with moderate to severe anxiety, they showed significant reductions. The more severe the anxiety, the fewer NK cells they had. It's a dose-response relationship, which in medical research is strong evidence of causation. The insomnia connection was equally concerning. Among students with insomnia symptoms, higher anxiety scores were negatively associated with NK cell proportions. In other words, if you had both insomnia and anxiety, your NK cells were hit even harder. These two conditions seem to work together to suppress immunity. Dr. Renad Al-Hamawi, the lead researcher, was clear about the implications. A reduction of these cells can lead to impairment of the immune system, which may result in diseases, cancers, and mental diseases, including depression. She's not being alarmist. She's describing well-established medical science. Now, this isn't the first study to connect psychological stress with immune suppression. Research dating back to the 1990s showed that depressed patients with sleep disturbances had reduced NK cell activity. Another landmark study found that even one night of partial sleep deprivation, just losing sleep from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m., reduced NK cell activity by a measurable amount in healthy volunteers. But what makes this new study important is its focus on anxiety and insomnia in young adults, conditions that are skyrocketing in prevalence. Previous research mostly looked at clinical depression or severe sleep deprivation in controlled lab settings. This study looked at real-world anxiety and sleep problems in a population that's increasingly affected. There's also a One Health angle here that the researchers emphasize. One Health is an approach recognizing that human health, animal health, and environmental health are all interconnected. Understanding how psychological stressors like anxiety impact immune cells like NK cells gives us insights into inflammation, cancer development, and overall disease susceptibility. The study has limitations, which the researchers honestly acknowledge. It only included young women, so we don't know if the same patterns hold for men or older adults. The sample size was relatively small, 60 participants, and the anxiety and insomnia symptoms were self-reported. not diagnosed by psychiatrists. Future studies with larger, more diverse populations and objective sleep monitoring are needed. But even with these limitations, the core finding is clear and concerning. Chronic anxiety and insomnia measurably reduce the number of immune cells that protect you from infections and cancer. And with mental health struggles at all-time highs, we might be looking at widespread immune suppression affecting millions of people. Okay, so we know anxiety and insomnia reduce NK cells. But how? What's the biological mechanism connecting your mental state to your immune cells? This is where things get really fascinating. It all starts in your brain. When you're anxious, your brain's stress response system, specifically the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, or HPA axis, goes into overdrive. Think of the HPA axis as your body's central alarm system. When it detects a threat, real or perceived, it triggers a cascade of hormones. The hypothalamus releases a hormone called CRH, which signals the pituitary gland. The pituitary releases ACTH, which travels through your bloodstream to your adrenal glands. And your adrenal glands release cortisol, the primary stress hormone. Now, cortisol is actually helpful in short bursts. It's part of your fight or flight response. It mobilizes energy, increases alertness, and temporarily suppresses non-essential functions so you can deal with immediate threats. Our ancestors needed this when running from predators. The problem is, chronic anxiety keeps this system activated constantly. Your body thinks it's in constant danger. And cortisol has a direct suppressive effect on immune cells, including NK cells. Studies have shown that elevated cortisol reduces NK cell activity and can decrease their numbers. It does this through multiple mechanisms. It affects how NK cells mature in the bone marrow, how they circulate in the blood, and how effectively they kill target cells. But cortisol isn't the only culprit. Chronic stress also affects your autonomic nervous system, the system controlling automatic functions like heart rate and digestion. Specifically, it shifts the balance from the parasympathetic rest and digest mode to the sympathetic fight or flight mode. This sympathetic dominance triggers the release of catecholamines, stress hormones like epinephrine and norepinephrine. These hormones also suppress NK cell function. Research has shown that adrenaline can actually cause NK cells to become less effective killers, reducing their ability to destroy infected or cancerous cells. Now let's add insomnia to the mix, because sleep loss creates its own set of problems for immunity. During sleep, your body undergoes crucial immune maintenance and repair. Sleep increases the production of certain cytokines, chemical messengers that coordinate immune responses. It also allows immune cells to redistribute throughout your body, moving from blood to tissues where they're needed most. When you don't sleep, or your sleep is fragmented and poor quality, these processes get disrupted. One landmark study found that people who slept fewer than 6 hours per night were nearly 4 times more likely to catch a cold when exposed to the virus, compared to people who slept 7 or more hours. 4 times! That's a massive difference. Sleep deprivation also increases inflammation throughout your body. It raises levels of inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein and interleukin-6. This chronic low-grade inflammation can damage tissues and further suppress NK cell function. It's like your immune system is constantly distracted fighting inflammation instead of patrolling for real threats. There's also emerging evidence that anxiety and insomnia disrupt your circadian rhythm, your body's internal 24-hour clock. NK cells have their own circadian pattern. Their numbers and activity fluctuate throughout the day, peaking at certain times and dipping at others. When your circadian rhythm is disrupted, these patterns get scrambled, potentially leaving you vulnerable during crucial periods. And here's where it gets even more complicated. Reduced NK cell function can worsen anxiety and depression, creating a vicious cycle. Some research suggests that NK cells produce substances that affect brain chemistry. When NK cells are depleted, this could contribute to worsening mental health, which further suppresses NK cells, which worsens mental health. It's a downward spiral. Dr. Al-Hamawi's research hints at this when she mentions that NK cell reduction may contribute to mental diseases including depression. The mind-body connection isn't just metaphorical, it's a real, measurable, bi-directional communication system, where your mental state affects your immune cells, and your immune cells affect your mental state. Okay, so anxiety and insomnia are tanking your NK cells through multiple biological mechanisms. What does this actually mean for your day-to-day health? Let's talk about real-world consequences. First, infections. NK cells are your first line of defense against viruses. Reduced NK cell counts mean you're more susceptible to viral infections, colds, flu, herpes outbreaks, and more. Have you ever noticed that when you're stressed and not sleeping well, you get sick more often? This is why. Your immune army is depleted. Second, cancer risk. This is the big one that researchers worry about most. NK cells play a crucial role in tumor surveillance, identifying and destroying cells that have turned cancerous before they can form tumors. Multiple studies have found associations between reduced NK cell activity and increased cancer risk. Now, to be clear, having low NK cells for a few weeks or months probably isn't going to give you cancer. Cancer development is complex and takes years. But chronic, long-term suppression of NK cells? That could theoretically increase your cancer risk over decades. And with young adults experiencing record levels of anxiety and insomnia, we might not see the full consequences for years to come. Third, chronic inflammation and autoimmune issues. Remember how we talked about NK cells helping regulate immune responses? When they're depleted, your immune system can become dysregulated. This might contribute to chronic inflammatory conditions and could even play a role in autoimmune diseases where the immune system attacks the body's own tissues. Fourth, and this one's particularly insidious, mental health deterioration. We mentioned the vicious cycle earlier. As NK cells decline, some research suggests this can worsen mood disorders, creating a feedback loop where anxiety causes immune suppression, which worsens anxiety, which further suppresses immunity. Breaking this cycle becomes increasingly difficult. So what can you do about it? Because understanding the problem is only useful if we can do something about it. The good news is that previous research has shown healthy lifestyle changes can boost NK cell numbers and function. Let's start with the obvious one. Address the anxiety and insomnia. This isn't just try to relax. This is medical advice. If you're experiencing moderate to severe anxiety or chronic insomnia, talk to a mental health professional. Cognitive behavioral therapy has strong evidence for treating both anxiety and insomnia. In some cases, medication might be appropriate. These aren't just treating symptoms, they're protecting your immune system. Exercise is powerful. Multiple studies have shown that regular physical activity increases NK cell numbers and activity. You don't need to become a marathon runner. Moderate exercise, even brisk walking for 30 minutes a day, can boost NK cell function. One study found that elderly women who exercised regularly had significantly higher NK cell activity than sedentary women. Sleep hygiene is critical. Even if you struggle with insomnia, improving your sleep habits can help. Keep a consistent sleep schedule, even on weekends. Make your bedroom dark, cool, and quiet. Avoid screens for an hour before bed. The blue light disrupts melatonin production. Avoid caffeine after 2 p.m. These aren't just feel-good tips. They're immune-boosting strategies. Nutrition matters too. A diet rich in fruits, vegetables, and omega-3 fatty acids supports immune function. Some research suggests that certain nutrients, like vitamin D, zinc, and selenium, are particularly important for NK cell function. Avoid excessive alcohol and processed foods, which can suppress immunity. Stress reduction techniques can help break the cortisol cycle. Meditation, deep breathing exercises, yoga, spending time in nature. These aren't just new age fluff. They measurably reduce stress hormones and can help restore normal immune function. Even 10 minutes of meditation daily has been shown to reduce cortisol levels. Social connection is protective. Loneliness and social isolation have been shown to suppress immune function, while strong social bonds support it. Spend time with friends and family. Join communities that share your interests. Human connection isn't a luxury, it's immunological medicine. And here's something important. Don't catastrophize. If you're dealing with anxiety and insomnia right now, don't panic about your NK cells. Stress about having low NK cells will just lower your NK cells more. The human body is resilient. When you address the underlying issues, the anxiety, the sleep problems, your immune system can recover. This research reveals something profound about the hidden costs of modern life. We live in an era of unprecedented anxiety, constant connectivity, social media comparison, economic instability, global crises. Our brains are in a state of perpetual alarm. And now we know that this chronic stress isn't just making us feel bad, it's measurably weakening our immune defenses at the cellular level. The Taiba University study focused on young women, but this is a universal human issue. Men experience anxiety and insomnia too, though they might report it less. Older adults face these struggles. Children and teenagers are increasingly affected. We're looking at a public health crisis that operates largely beneath our awareness. And here's what makes it particularly concerning. The effects might be cumulative. If you struggle with anxiety and insomnia in your 20s, and your NK cells are suppressed for years, what are the consequences when you're 40, 50, 60? We don't know yet because this generation is the first to experience this level of chronic psychological stress from such a young age. But there's also hope in this research. Understanding the mechanism gives us power. It shows us that mental health isn't separate from physical health. They're deeply interconnected. Treating anxiety and insomnia isn't just about feeling better emotionally. It's about protecting your immune system, reducing your cancer risk, and potentially extending your healthy lifespan. It also validates what people experiencing these conditions already know. This is real, this is physical, this is biological. If someone tells you to just stop worrying or just get more sleep, they're not just being unhelpful. They're ignoring the complex neurobiology at play. This research shows that anxiety and insomnia are legitimate medical conditions with measurable physiological consequences. Moving forward, we need more research. We need larger studies across different populations. We need to understand whether treating anxiety and insomnia can restore NK cell function, and if so, how quickly. We need to know if there are interventions specifically targeting NK cells that could help people with these conditions. The science is just beginning to uncover these connections. Your body is constantly communicating with itself. Your brain talks to your immune system through hormones, neurotransmitters, and direct neural connections. When your mind is struggling, your body feels it at every level, including in the immune cells that protect you from disease. The students in this study who had moderate to severe anxiety weren't just feeling anxious. They had measurably fewer immune cells protecting them from infections and cancer. That's not psychological. That's biological. That's real. And that means addressing mental health isn't just about quality of life, though that matters enormously. It's about survival. If you're dealing with anxiety or insomnia, please take it seriously. Seek help. Whether that's therapy, lifestyle changes, medication, or all of the above, your immune system is depending on it. And if someone you care about is struggling, understand that their mental health crisis is also an immune crisis. Support them. If this video opened your eyes to the hidden connections between mental health and immunity, if you want to stay informed about cutting-edge science that affects your daily life, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We explore the latest discoveries in medicine, psychology, and human biology every single week. Drop a comment below. Do you struggle with anxiety or insomnia? Have you noticed you get sick more often when you're stressed? What strategies have helped you? The community here is supportive, and sharing experiences helps all of us learn and feel less alone. Thanks for watching Mind and Marvel, where we uncover the hidden science of being human. Remember, your mental health is your immune health. My name is Jebby, and I was your host for today's episode. Take care of your mind, and your body will follow. Until next time, prioritize your sleep, manage your stress, and stay